All right, we are recording. What's up?
Hi.
Yeah, you got Morgan and Erin coming to you hot. Well, I legit am hot because I'm in Miami. Bienvenido a Miami, living the dream.
Little cool, little rainy, little damp up here in Chicago, but that's cool. We're good.
Hashtag no more winters, baby. I'm so done. I've got, my yellow nails and the colors behind me and my dress. And
I got a long sleeve on and dark purple nails.
No. I've got a unicorn floaty and a Pegasus floaty, and I'm, in my pool. I'm good. I'm straight. I'm at the Epic Sexy Retreat House and doing mighty fine. And so for anyone who is watching, who may be new to us, we'll just do a quick intro and then we'll jump right into the yummy goodiness of talking about some avatars that are, we'll talk about what are avatars, and we'll talk about what are some ones to pay attention to. Last week we talked about the Comfy Slob avatar, and that's definitely getting in your way of creating your dream body and your dream life. And we're going to talk about some more dream team killers. So we'll talk about why we're talking about them. So first of all, you got me. I am Morgan Field. I am the founder of Epic Sexy You, which is in 18 countries and counting. So it's amazeballs. It's an empowerment organization that's all about helping awaken beings to their divine majesty. And the mission is really about a movement to redefine what it means to live, redefine what it means. I feel like we're taking the word sexy back and we're redefining what that word means, how it feels, and giving people permission to be it. It's amazing when you really tap into what that is. I see the grin on your face because I know you've gone through that transition as well. And
oh yeah, I'm getting all like, oh.
Yeah. And so Erin and I decided to get together and start sharing the conversations that we were having. Erin's my bestie, and sharing conversations that we were having on our own. I was like, that would be really selfish of me to keep Erin all to myself. And this is all about, sharing it with the world. And then also for anyone who may be new to what Epic Sexy You is even about. I'm a life coach. I'm an intuitive. I'm an Amazon bestseller. I've won awards for coaching. The book has won many awards. So it's getting around the world. And also what specifically in terms of like your body, creating a body you love, which is a piece of the living an epic sexy lifestyle. I mean, you got to love yourself. And a piece of that is this container that we are in. And, my container prior to my awakening to my epic sexy lifestyle was screaming at me in the vehicle of autoimmune diseases. So I had a ton of those. And I no longer have any of them because I healed my body. And a lot of the stuff is maybe counter instinctual than what you would think, right? Like we instinctively think it's our body, so it must be our body. And a lot of the stuff was I had to clean up what was going on with a lot of these avatars we're going to be playing with. So when you change the who that shows up, which version of you shows up, they make different choices. It's all tied into identity. So Epic Sexy Lifestyle is really about creating an identity that really serves you, and being conscious of it. And let's see, what else? Yeah, so that's me. I'm sure there's many more things, but Erin, what about you? Tell us a little bit about
You're hard to describe in a short period of time with so few words in the English language.
Agreed.
I'm Erin. I am, Morgan's best friend. We've known each other for about 13 years now. And we've been partners in crime ever since. And so our journeys have taken us in different directions and different ways, but always bringing us kind of back along the path together. So it's been really cool. I have been a nurse for over 13 years. I did pediatrics, critical care, some adults, some really intense critical care stuff, which I loved. Now I'm on a non-clinical side, but I saw many facets of illness, some self-induced by lifestyle and some sprung upon people, who were taking care of themselves and kind of victims of circumstance, especially with children and babies. So I love taking care of people. I am now a like I said, I'm a nurse, but I'm also a health and fitness coach now. So I have moved over from taking care of people when they are in positions of complete and utter vulnerability to taking care of them by helping bridge them to empowering themselves and enabling themselves and figuring out how they can create the lives they want to live through their own nutrition, health, and fitness, which has been super fun. I am a recovering perfectionist and an aspiring good enoughist. That's always a work in progress. So we'll talk about that today with Perfectionista and some of the other avatars Morgan's going to bring up. And I am a full-time working mom. I've got a beautiful 2-year-old son and a little one that will be on the way and coming to meet us sometime in May, and wife to a lovely man that I've been married to for 6 years. So balancing all the plates. Didn't used to do it as well as I have been working on to do. It's, again, that's a work in progress, and definitely with the help of Epic Sexy You. So here we go.
Yes. Also, I said it on the last call. So if you haven't seen the first episode, episode 1 is about the Comfy Slob. So check that out, because you want to get your Comfy Slob in check and use him or her. And we've got some gentlemen watching as well and following. So it's not just for the ladies, it's for everybody. That's what's up, like many R's. Everybody. So there's also just so check that out if you want to check that out. One of the things that I said in that intro, which I feel like is really important for you to know about Erin, is that although she is pregnant, 9 weeks, or no, what are we, 10 weeks now?
10 weeks, yeah.
10 weeks now, because last week was 9 weeks. Now that 10 weeks pregnant, she still has some rockin' abs. So, and what I also love too is one of the things that Erin and I have talked about a lot is the fact that, you know, as a nurse, it was a lot like, it's called health care, because you just mentioned this as well, right? But really, it's like, it's sickness care. Like, you're caring individuals who it's like, it's already an issue. And so what I love about what you're saying, and this is a piece of this mission of why we're having these episodes, is now stepping into the health and fitness arena and really realizing, like, this is about being proactive. And more than anything, it's about just really loving the body that you're in, because when you do love the body you're in, you treat it very differently. Yeah. You know? And so one of the really cool things that we're going to be talking about today is, and we talked about in episode 1, is getting really conscious on which version of you is showing up in the world. And so just a little backstory, because I realized we didn't do this in the last one. Avatars, and I just call them avatars, that word kind of spiritually downloaded, because there's something really beautiful about the fact that, like, we get to try on many different versions of ourselves while we're in this world. You know, when I connect spiritually and intuitively to just the messages that download, we didn't come here to experience one singular version. And I think we forget that sometimes, or we hide certain pieces of ourselves. And I also think sometimes what happens is we really judge ourselves and beat ourselves up and think that we are so the ones we're going to be talking about today are the Perfectionista, the Saboteuress or Perfectionisto, the Saboteuro, and the Victima or Victimo, for depending on guys or girls. And I think sometimes when we're experiencing ourselves as being those versions of us, we judge ourselves. And so I want to talk about the fact that this is not about learning about these so that you can shame yourself or judge yourself. This is about learning about these different avatars, because we all have them. And what happens, I have realized in all of the years of coaching, is when we are able to separate our self and our identity from experiencing different versions of ourselves, we can be more conscious about who we try on, right? I'm not this shirt, I'm just wearing this shirt. And so looking at avatars in that way, like, you are not a victim. However, when you're in Victima or Victimo, you know, that's what you're experiencing in that moment. And so what Erin and I have done a lot of work together on and just playing on is that like being really conscious and openly talking about it also takes shame away from it. So creating language, new language that's more playful, hence like Victima or Victimo, the Saboteuress or the Saboteuro. I mean, it makes it sound fancy, you know, like when you say Target, although I love Target,
right.
You know, instead of Target. So it's giving yourself permission to have some play with this. And so I would really love for the intention for people to walk away just being more conscious and having more humility and laughter through the journey, to realize, and also it's like to normalize, you're not alone.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I see that a lot when I work with people is I'll share stories, and they'll be recent stories, and I'll be like, oh yeah, my Victima, and I'll explain something that my Victima did. And people sometimes look at me like, you experienced Victima? And I'm like, oh, don't get it twisted. It doesn't matter how much growth you've done.
Oh yeah.
How much self-growth you've done. It doesn't matter. And this, I tell this to everyone too, like it never matters how successful you are, how beautiful you are. Like you could get your body to a point where it's, you know, it's like your Perfectionista is still going to be present. Your Victima will still pop in, or Victimo for my gentleman. And we all have a self-sabotaging version of ourselves. So again, we're going to play with when you are experiencing these so that you can identify them and then pattern interrupt. So part of pattern, like awareness is part of, it's a tool for interrupting your pattern. Mm-hmm. So what we're going to talk about is who these are for ourselves. We're going to share them with you just to kind of playfully say, yeah, this is how mine shows up, so that you could resonate. Oh yeah, mine does that too. Or start thinking as you're listening to us, you know, how might yours show up? And then we'll also talk a little bit about how do we combat them, right? So how do they show up and how do we combat them? So let's jump in, because I feel like, you know, you're a recovering perfectionista. Why don't we start there? Tell me a little bit about what does that mean for you?
She's a real dick. So, you know, and I like what you're saying, like when you're explaining the avatars, and like for me through my own filters, is like when I think of an avatar, or because I think we understand like that word may not resonate with everybody in the same way, is basically the way I also think of it is like it's basically a thought pattern that you're allowing to predominate. Like it's going to the front of the cerebral cortex, and that's what's coming out. So whatever pattern or hardwiring is in that avatar, in that thought pattern, that's the one that is ejecting out of your mouth and what's running on repeat in the reel in your head. And so let's start with Perfectionista. Yeah, she's my meanest. She's probably my meanest. And, you know, I think like I think probably like most perfectionistas or perfectionistas, she probably started coming out when I was young, because, you know, you start getting accolades, especially as being the oldest child, when there's two other siblings come along and you're not the queen of the show anymore. It's a little harder to get attention. And then all of a sudden you start getting accolades for maybe good grades or good sports performance, or for whatever else you're doing around the house. And you start creating a feedback system where it's like approval means love, approval, they love me, approval, my parents love me. So it kind of creates that, and like school always came easy to me. So that was easy. That was a slam dunk every time, you know. Sports, I was pretty athletic, but I think where she started, I can probably pinpoint two places she got bad, or really took the reins for a long period of time. And that was, I played competitive volleyball in high school and in college. And I was pretty good. I was a consistent player. I wasn't the best. I wasn't the biggest. I wasn't the strongest. I wasn't the fattest. But I was pretty smart, and I was pretty consistent. And it's funny because it just actually, I just got reminded today that like many of my coaches, who all independent of each other, didn't know each other, used to refer to me as the Rock, because they were like, you are the most consistent player on the court. Like you couldn't mess with me mentally. Like, you know, you could watch people in a game be taken out if they made a mistake, like a bad serve, and you would pick on that player because you were going to exploit them being their head case. And you were going to keep going after them because they were going to continue to mess up until they had to come out of the game. That probably happened to me once in my career. And actually, I remember it happening and looking at my coach and going, you got to take me out. Like, I need a break. And she was like, no, wouldn't pull me, you know, but it was funny because I recognized it in that moment. So my parents, I think, had the best intentions in trying to motivate me to be a better player by always telling me that my performance wasn't good enough. And so every game, even though I was playing balls to the wall, you know, giving it my all, my best 110% every single time, it was never good enough. And I can remember like my dad comparing me to another player on another team, and he'd be like, why can't you be like her? Like, she just pounds the ball every time, because my dad was very much into power. This girl was a powerful hitter. She was incredible. And I remember looking at him and I'm like, I'm 5'8" and 125 pounds. Like, she's 6 foot and 180. Like, I'm never going to have that power. Like, I just knew that. I'm like, you're comparing me apples to oranges. But he still kind of did it a lot. So I think that was, that strengthened Perfectionista. That gave her a lot of ammunition. And in junior year at high school, so like I said, school I never struggled with. And I struggled hardcore my first semester of trigonometry. To the point where I was struggling. And geometry and all that came pretty easy to me. But, you know, I mean, trigonometry and pre-calculus, stuff's hard. I struggled hard and ended up dropping it because the grade was so bad. And I was like, oh my God, I went so far, and I love my teachers, but I was like, okay, I dropped it for the semester, and they're like, you're going to take it next semester. And I'm like, no, I'm just going to like drop to remedial math. And they were like, no, you're going to take the semester off and you're going to get back into trigonometry. So when I went back into trigonometry, I just ended up with like a study hall. I was so terrified to fail that I went into hyperdrive with it and was like, oh my God, I have to be perfect at it. And let me tell you, I got an A in trigonometry. But I was like, that's like where like a lot of OCD tendencies started to come out. And then as I went into college, and as Perfectionista in that period of time had started to gain momentum, there was a lot of anxiety. There was a lot of OCD tendencies. There was a lot of just discourse in my head. And then it started to filter into other areas of my life. And Perfectionista is a punisher. And then you get to the point, at least for me, where it's like, then I start to get like, not even analysis paralysis, perfection paralysis. Like, if you're not going to do it perfect, like, then don't even do it. So, you know, as an example, as like a 35-year-old, like I've shared this with you, like I wouldn't put pictures up in my house and like decorate my house. And my husband would ask me like, hey, you know, let's put pictures up. And I was so terrified to do it the wrong way, even though like I could just redo it. But like, yeah, I was totally paralyzed. And then that would happen with fitness too. Like, I was working out for all the wrong reasons. It was all punishment because I wasn't perfect, because I wasn't good enough, because I was trying to rectify something that, you know, either I somehow told me I was wrong, someone else told me was wrong with me, or society told me, you know, I needed to be like. So, and then I would hold myself back from programs too. Perfectionista, and we talked about this last episode, she kept me out of playing volleyball for years after I was done. And I loved volleyball. Like, volleyball was my number one passion, because I was like, I would hear her, like, you're not going to step out on that court the way you did when you were in college. Like, you're not going to be at that level. So, oh man, it was bad. And then like I told you, like, finally I did it. I was in an intermediate league, you know, co-ed. And in like 2 months, I had competitive co-ed teams asking me to come play with them on men's size nets. You know, it was kind of hilarious. So like, yeah, once I let her get the F out of the way with that, it was like I showed myself. But even still, as a 35-year-old, like I forget that experience.
Well, that's what this is all about, right? It's consciousness. And I'm loving everything you're saying, because I'm like, yes. So I'm sure everyone who's listening, it's like, yes, like we can, it's all relatable, right? Like parents have the best of intentions.
Totally.
Parents love their children, and yet we don't get parenting guides of, you know, how to do this, you know, we just kind of figure it out as you go. And also a lot of it is repeating what they saw, you know? Right. And so what's also really cool about creating consciousness is then, so for yourself, you got a little, you know, a 2-year-old nugget, and then you've got, he's 2 now, right?
Yeah.
You've got a 2-year-old nugget, and then you've got another one on the way. And so what I love about watching you is you're creating consciousness not only in your physical manifestation of what your body is, you're also doing that in your parenting, you know? Yeah. And like, will you do things that you don't realize that you're doing that, you know, later he'll be like, oh, that sucked. Sure, of course, right? But again, that's where it's like being conscious of your perfectionista, because I see this a lot with, you know, I see you actually become very conscious of your perfectionista when you notice she's stepping in with parenting. Mm-hmm. And in talking about like conquering the perfectionista, part of consciousness is acknowledging that she's there and then focusing on what can I control. Because a perfectionista wants to focus on everything, which means I can't control it. So like, let me give you another example of how perfectionista may be showing up, or perfectionista may be showing up in your life. And know that this is also taught, like how we do one thing is how we do everything. So, you know, I'm going to give an example from when I was in the corporate world, and yet that tied to everything I was doing in my life. And it's something I need to be very conscious of. So it doesn't matter if you identify it with your body or with your work or with your parenting or whatever. Just know that if it's showing up somewhere, it's showing up everywhere. So being conscious, and it's just, they're sneaky. These avatars are sneaky. And I love what you said, because it is. It's basically, the avatar is whatever the forefront script is. It's whatever's coming. It's the neurolinguistics that are coming out of your mouth. It's what are you wearing? Avatars are very interesting. They have, they manifest in all of your physicality. I do a lot of work with this live at retreats, where I actually have individuals step from one to the next, and we go down the line, and we may have 10 avatars we're playing with. And if you watch, you get to see 10 different physical body languages and gestures and mannerisms. It's really powerful. Mm-hmm. So,
while you're saying that, like my arms want to cross when I talk about her.
Yeah.
My arms totally want to cross.
Yeah, perfectionista. I mean, it's different, right? And like, that's blocked energy. Okay, so for me, when you were giving the examples, the one that's coming to the forefront, and so my perfectionista is very tied to the do-it-all girl avatar.
Yeah.
Because so here's something that happened too, and I hear this a lot with people that I work with. Sometimes as children, we misunderstand what's going on around us, because we are a child with a child brain that's not developed, and we don't get it. My child brain interpreted what was going on in my life around me as, I'll just do it myself.
Oh yeah, I have got a lot of that too.
Everything.
Oh yeah.
I'll do everything myself. Like, yeah. Just, it was one of those things where it was like, so, no one else is going to help me. This is just that, again, this is the understanding of a child's brain that, again, we need to bring consciousness to this. This is why this is so important. It's like, and knowing that it's, it's like, there's so much power in this consciousness. And I just keep hearing I know I'm like a broken record, but repetition is the mother of mastery. And it's so important to hear that, like, to do this with curiosity. Curiosity is a superpower, right? And not shame. Like, it's not shameful. These are things that, like, you were a small child and you just processed it you didn't understand it. You didn't get it, right? So for me, I felt like I was alone as a child. I felt like I had to do everything by myself. And I felt like no one else was going to be able to be capable of doing it. And definitely not the way that was my standard.
Oh yeah.
This is my thing, right?
Oh yeah.
So what I did is when I went into I graduated college and I went to the corporate world, and I started as a recruiter, and I was kicking ass. I was doing everything by myself as a recruiter. It was great. Then I got into sales and consulting, and I was able to do everything by myself, and it was totally kick ass. It was amazing. I worked probably, some days 18 hours a day. So I became, a workaholic. Mm-hmm. So my perfectionista shows up in tandem with my do-it-all girl, and then I become obsessed with whatever I'm doing. So there's a lot of compulsive, to your point, OCD. And then where she really, really became incredibly loud and like got to the point where she, like, I had to put her on the bench because I had no other choice. It was like the universe conspired to create this thing. And I talk about this in the book, is I had a boss that came to me and she said, "Can I ask you a question?" And I said, "Yes." She said, "Do you ever say no?" And I was like,
"Oh yeah, I remember this."
Right? And so it was my perfectionista had so much shame embedded into her if she wasn't perfect that she said yes to everything.
Oh yeah.
She did everything herself. I sacrificed, and this is where this ties to the body. I sacrificed sleep, my lunch, dinner, nourishment, and then because I didn't have any coping mechanisms other than alcohol and smoking and anger, that's where I lit my emotional home was anger. And I was, it's like I developed resentment for myself. So what was really cool about that experience was the same boss said to me one time, she goes, I wouldn't usually say this to everyone. I need you to know that, like, this isn't just a general thing I say. And I said, okay. And she seemed kind of serious about it. She goes, sometimes good enough just has to be good enough.
Yeah.
And I was like, huh. And I realized that nothing, I grew up feeling like, again, it's not purposeful. Parents aren't malicious. They're not intended to make you feel like you're not enough. But I always say we inherit, although I would have loved to have inherited riches, although I create them for myself, so I didn't need to, but, although that would have been wonderful, we inherit shame. We inherit our ancestral not good enough. So we inherit that. It's just like silver platter. Here's a bag of poop,
right.
And so until we consciously say, no, I'm not going to take that. And so perfectionista, for me at that time, it was, I had inherited all of these things that I realized that it's like when you become aware of her, you can see what she's messing up, right? Which Saboteuress or Saboteuro, which we'll talk about in a second, was coming into play there as well, like sabotaging the body. So this is why we're calling them the dream team killers, because there's a bunch of them that come to play together. Also, so with the perfectionista, what ended up happening was I was managing, like when I was a party of one and I had, X amount of clients and I had 18 hours in a day to kill myself, no problem. But when but the boss that I had at the time that brought that to my attention, I had 6 sales reps that worked for me.
Yeah.
So basically, without me realizing it, I ended up having 6 of me.
Right.
That I was being a perfectionista with.
Yeah.
And trying to do everything for everyone and with everyone.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, was taking their power.
Right.
Not meaning to.
Right.
Instead of being like, oh, you got that.
Yeah.
You don't need me. You totally got that.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. And that's easy to do with parenting. And super easy to just do everything for your kid. You want to help them or do whatever. And with you, it's funny because you're saying this. Mine likes to work in tandem with my approval whore. Please prove, please prove, please prove, And so, right, that, like when you said no problem, I'm like, oh my God, like when I worked in the ICU, which again, I chose a job where perfectionism is aspired to because you're taking care of people and their children. Yeah, absolutely. So like, you've got to be detail oriented and all of that jazz. So for sure. But like when you're an extreme perfectionist, like, I wouldn't go to the bathroom for 13 hours because I couldn't leave my patient because I needed the control, because if it was out of my control, I couldn't function. Like if something happened when I walked away, I wouldn't drink water, and I like, you know, stuff like that. And I would say, no problem. Someone would ask me to do something, I'd be like, no problem. All the time. But it's funny. I remember getting to the point at work where I was like, oh yeah, I'm not going to go into kidney failure like a cat when I'm 60, you know, if I'm still being a bedside nurse and whatever. So it's like, now my mantra at work was always like, I dehydrate for no one. You know, so, but there were definitely, or yeah, you know, with a couple of my other jobs too, and I was still stuck in, perfectionista and people pleaser or approval whore, whatever you want to call her. But for sure, like sacrificing. I mean, I wasn't working out. I'd feel guilty going to the gym or leaving early, or I mean, I signed up for a gym membership that I didn't use for 2 years at work. They built a gym. I saw it. I'm like, I'm totally going to do this. And I'm going to, yeah, it's going to be great. I'm going to go to classes. I'm going to look so good. And then I never went because I felt too guilty. And then I was exhausted by the end of the day, and I'd go home and I'd eat convenience foods and then go to sleep and rinse and repeat.
Perfectionista also, in terms of like health and fitness. So she, you know, she's oftentimes so focused on other things that she doesn't show up here. Or you see people who are like extreme health nuts, and then they don't, there's a lot of deprivation. So their perfectionista deprives them.
Yes.
And some people might go back and forth between where their perfectionista shows up. Like, so be aware that when you take that journey into creating a body you love, that you don't let perfectionista talk you into, you know, your body is never enough. It's never good enough. And also, you know, just perfectionista can shame you. So just be aware.
Oh, yeah.
And she could also, you know, just make it to the point where you become obsessive compulsive with the working out. And then like, that's
or the eating, right. Or the number on the scale. Cause I've gotten to that point too.
Yourself. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I totally tied a ton of self-worth into that. And I would say that was probably perfectionista as well. You know, it was like that number could be lower. Get it a pound lower. Get that pant size 1 size lower, you know?
Here's what else is sneaky just to be aware of is that, and I talk about this all the time on retreats, is like, okay, so you set a bar and you're like, here, so let's just say you have a certain dress you want to get into, okay? As an example, or, you know, gentlemen, you have a certain pant size you want to get into, or, you know, like you said, you want to be a certain weight, or, you know, okay, so you've got a bar. And here's what happens. We'll use this. We'll say this is the bar, okay? And then this is what happens. You're going, you're very close to it, and then you do this. But you don't even realize that you did that.
Right.
And it's like going, go. So this is always moving. Here's the thing, though. There's no shame in this always moving. This is called life. It's called growth. Without growth, this is like my life's mission and passion, growth, right? Without it, we die.
So what's funny about what you're saying with that is like, as you're going like this and you're setting the bar further and further and further. So I think that maybe where a lot of people's saboteur shows up is as you do this and you're going up and you're going, it's like they sneak in and they're like, you're not meeting your goal.
Yes. That's exactly right.
So fucking quit, because it's just you're not. Yes.
That's exactly what happens. Like
sneaky dick.
Totally. Complete 1,000,000%. It's like, and this is why they're a dream team. They're the dream killers because. Well, you know, and just so you know, too, in future episodes, we will also talk about high vibration avatars that you can embody. We're just starting with these because sometimes human nature is we often like to find what we're doing wrong. And we're already really good at it. So let's meet ourselves where we're at. Let's show you what you're doing that could be done in a higher vibration. So it's not like you're doing anything wrong. You're just doing something that's not serving you. And you're doing it unconsciously. So we're bringing consciousness to it and and also just normalizing, right? A piece of conquering these is normalizing everyone else does it. Because Victima or Victimo, that soundtrack sounds like this, which one of my ladies who's going to be watching I'm taking from hers because we were on a retreat and her Victima was very funny. Hers is like, everybody else, XYZ, whatever it is. Right? Like everyone else gets it. Everyone else is totally killing life and playing life. She doesn't. And you know what I mean? So it's like, please, right? And like we can laugh because it, like we've all heard it. Everyone else gets it. What's wrong with me? There's, you know what I mean? And so there's this thing too also where so what happens is we've got you've got Perfectionista raising the bar on you, but you're not even consciously stopping to celebrate. I got here even though I moved, and you're just like, oh, I'm not there yet. I'm not there. I'm not the there. Then you've got your Saboteuro or Saboteuress who's coming in and going like, oh my God, that's, like and it's always when you're really close to it, like, oh my God, you didn't even get there. Just stop. Why bother? What's the point? Save your energy, all this stuff. And then Victima comes in after, or Victimo, and goes, I don't get it. Obviously there's something wrong with me because everyone else is killing life and amazing. And, I'm just awful. And, this is really bad and blah, blah, blah. And then goes and Victima bombs someone.
Oh yeah.
Victima or Victima.
Oh yeah.
They really like to dump. They like to dump on people. Totally been guilty myself. Right. But it's like all this stuff. And also like,
oh yeah. My poor husband he's received friendly fire from that.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, what happens too is just how you know when you're experiencing the Victima or Victima is oftentimes Victima and Victimo also shows up where like, I am the most miserable fuck in the room. And you want to out miserable fuck each other. And when you've got multiple Victimas, they usually have this battle between one another. And this is so like working out as an example. It's like, I'm so busy. I don't have any time. I can't. And there's like Victimas have 1,000,005 reasons why they can't do something. And they love other Victimas. So beware we just talked about this at the retreat in Iceland. Beware of connecting with people on a Victima level. Versus on a high vibration avatar, which again, I promise you in future episodes, we'll talk about them. It's just important to build up because it's harder to stay here when you don't know what's going to knock you back down. Because these avatars will, even when you're up here, they'll pull you down and you just have to consciously do it. And you're always going to experience them. I always talk to people like, my one-on-one clients, it's like, you're always going to experience these. Your quality of problems are just going to get better. Like, you're always going to have problems or, whatever, like it's not even a problem. You're always going to have opportunities for growth. Your opportunities for growth just get higher quality, right? Or if you work Victima is always going to find problems. Perfectionista is always going to find something else to be perfect about. The saboteur is always going to find things to sabotage, right? It's just about knowing that they're higher quality things as you escalate, right? So, and also paying attention. I just did for the members community, I just did this workshop where we talked about who's on your selection team for when you're choosing your mate and or, a relationship. And which of your avatars are showing up in your relationship. Yeah. And if you are experiencing Victima a lot in your life, you're going to attract a Victimo. Or vice versa. If you are a Victimo or experiencing a Victimo, because you're not these avatars, you're just experiencing them, then, oh, look. Right? So we match the vibration. And so a piece of this consciousness too is like, well, do you want to attract more, like, do you want a Victima party or a Victimo party, or like.
Right. Then everyone in the Victimo party sit around going like, man, that one's really a victim.
Which is so, they all doing it to each other. Yeah.
Oh my God. That's so funny. So speaking of Victimo, it's funny, like the things you see in having a toddler. Like I'm like, oh, please show me how we all as adults ended up with these, behavioral patterns. Like it's hilarious. So my son right now in the last week has developed this habit of like, he'll have all of these, like he loves Easter eggs and he wants to stack them all, or he loves crayons or he's whatever, and he's putting them in something and then he's taking them out and then he's putting them in and he's taking them out and he's doing it on the kitchen table. He will knock something off of the table onto the floor and then go, uh-oh, 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 and he'll just escalate his volume and point and look at it. And I'm like, what's happening? So I turn around and I'll be like, dude, like, you can get it. You're not helpless. Uh-oh, uh-oh. And I'm like, oh my God, like you are embodying Victima right now. It's like you knocked it off the table.
Yeah.
You're staring at it and lamenting over its existence in a place that you can't reach it with your arm length at the current moment.
Okay, so what I love about this is I actually was on the phone with you the other day.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I can't. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you were like, oh God.
You know, it's funny too, because when you're not at that level of vibration, it's just like and so that's what I love is oftentimes, so be aware of this, when we're experiencing our high vibration avatars and someone else is down here, an old unconscious pattern might be to meet them down here.
Oh yeah.
Which happens, like you said, in parenting. There's an option to go, "Aw, buddy, I'll get it."
Yeah.
Which is like sucka. And then here's what happens. You have conditioned, and actually, I'm so glad you brought that up. I work with people of all ages, including 50 plus, okay? 50s, 60s. I've seen this even in their 70s.
Oh yeah.
Is when you were conditioned as a child and got attention, like you said earlier, when you got attention for being a victima or a perfectionista.
Oh yeah.
Those, you were basically rewarded for, so let's say victima or victima, for
right.
knocking it over and being completely able to reach it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And pretending that you couldn't, not owning your power, handing all of your power away to someone else, and
yeah.
someone else unconsciously and masked in love, which that'll be something that we may talk about on a different one. So we're still downloading what feels good to do for these series. So if you guys have ideas too, please feel free to write us and tell us what you would like us to talk about. Is I see then that what happens is like, especially on retreats, I see people go down to their victima energy, mm-hmm. waiting for me to come down there with them.
Mm.
Love on them and soothe.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Occasionally I get suckered in, and then later I'm like, oh, and I can lovingly be like, oh my God, your victima totally suckered me, and I totally played into it. Just happened in Iceland, and it's and then we laugh about it, right? So,
dude, I used to do that to my husband.
Yeah,
I used to do that to him like a dick.
Yeah.
And then when I stopped, like, not that I consciously, like, until this very moment did I realize, like, I'm like, oh, I'm such an ass. But, like, I used to do that to him. And I'd be like, why don't you love me enough, you know, or whatever. And, like, I don't ask him that anymore because I'm like, I love me. We're good. Like, you're loving me enough. It's cool. He's kind of like, is everything okay? You know, like, are we good? And I'm like, oh, yeah, we're good. I just don't need to harass you anymore.
The love hustler. Yeah. The love hustler is like really needs to, because the love hustler doesn't realize that the love is within.
Right.
And that's what all of this is about. When you have love within, you're able to, then you, like, being in your body feels amazing because it's
fun.
You know, whereas like the perfectionista, it's all about external. The Saboteuress or Saboteuro is all trying to control the external, even if it means creating certainty. So for myself, you know, like, I am certain I won't hit my goals if I binge on peanut butter and chocolate.
Yeah.
So my Saboteuress likes to do that. Or in relationships, I am certain not to have you leave me if I leave you first. That was a big pattern in my past, right? Mm-hmm. So paying attention to how these are showing up. Okay, so I want to also make sure, we've got a little bit of time here left. I want to make sure that we talk about how do you conquer them. So we've been talking about consciousness as an absolute key to conquering these, right? Being aware that you're experiencing them in the moment, being aware that it's a choice, right?
Right.
I think a piece of this is knowing that what I see a lot with clients, and I'm just hearing this download as well, is part of these avatars, they are trying to create certainty. There's a bit of an addiction to certainty, and they're just they're trying to meet a need, certainty, safety, security. They're just doing it in a way that isn't serving you.
Right.
And first step is also so the reason that's coming through is knowing that we're going to take you step by step in understanding how you can actually, like, as an example, when we start talking about high vibration avatars, you'll have a better understanding of what your other choices are, right? So just know that a lot of times what our brains do is they want to know everything right now. They want to know exactly everything, and I want to do it all right now. And just know that that's
I need to know it all.
Yeah, you're a perfectionista. You know,
like all the information.
Give it all to me. I need to know. And also, I can't start until I know everything.
Well, I think my Saboteuress likes that too, because then it's like, you're never going to know everything.
So I can come in at any point and totally knock you off your game. That's a saboteur. Like, I can come in at any point, knock you off your game, because I know that you will never know everything.
Yeah, right.
On a curveball, like when you have an expectation and it's not met, the saboteur really likes to come in and be like, see, why bother? What is, you know, like, don't even
happen. Yeah.
And the saboteur is like, I'll create safety for you over here. Like, oh, what do you want? You want certainty? Okay, I can help you create certainty. And then create certainty in a way that really jacks everything up.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to a lot of, I feel like these three avatars with creating certainty go back to like Brene Brown's work of, like, they're basically all trying to protect you from vulnerability.
Yeah.
You know, which is, it's raw and it's, what is it? It's uncertainty, emotional exposure, and risk. Those are like the three things, the three components that make up vulnerability, or like are the equation for it. So, right, like basically they're all trying to like protect you from, and vulnerability makes you uncomfortable. So it's like your brain, you know, all of the like evolutionary parts of your brain, because vulnerability and being uncomfortable creates a flight or fight risk, and it creates that sensation, and it's like, oh fuck, get out of it right now, you know? So whenever, even if it's like not something physically uncomfortable, like, oh, there's a tiger after me, it's like, oh, I'm gonna post this about my, you know, new challenge group on Facebook, or I'm gonna post my you know, transformation picture or whatever. Like, I get all sweaty in my armpits, and like these three try to, I mean, you know, Perfectionista is like, oh, you better look at all that language. Did you say it good enough? Oh my God, blah, blah, blah. And no one's, they're going to be rolling their eyes at your post. And then, you know, Saboteuress is like, just don't even, just save it. Save the draft, you know? And Victima is just, I think, she's waiting for you to post it. She's waiting for me to post it so that I can post it and then be like, everybody hates it. So it's funny because it's like bait and switch, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's like it's a baton race, and they're handing the baton over, and they know exactly what they're doing, and it's an ongoing race that is a marathon cycle of baton relay passing on if you're not conscious of it.
Yeah. And then you got like, they're racing and they're passing the baton, and then you got Comfy Slob like in yoga pants in like a rickshaw next to you, like, come over here, girl. You don't gotta do shit. Just sit over here and we'll never grow or get better or be uncomfortable or anything. I got you. I'll protect your ass.
Come to this couch. It's so
right. Yeah, exactly.
You want Netflix? Yeah, girl. You get that Netflix.
She's like, don't worry about those other bitches.
Yeah, treat yourself. It's almost like it's so funny. It's almost like Comfy Slob is like,
Yeah, she's totally like the girl, like, you want to go to another party?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a party of one, always. Comfy Slob. Well, that's not true, unless there's another Comfy Slob. But usually Comfy Slob doesn't really like to share her comfy slobbery.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not her. Actually, that's not true. I find because we just did in the member site, we just did a workshop around how Comfy Slob shows up in relationships.
Oh yeah.
And it's very interesting, like, you know, again, it's the same thing. It's like, if you're not creating consciously, it's really dangerous. Comfy Slob can really mess up relationships.
If you're the coach of your own team, and if you're letting those ass clowns put whoever they want in the bench, like for a fucking scrimmage, then it's a free-for-all, whoever's getting out there. Unless you're running.
Yes.
Unless you're running and you're like, I need you in now. I need you to play here. I need you to sub for her. Then they're all just doing whatever the fuck they want.
And it's always I love that, because you're right. It's always like the Comfy Slob. It's the ones that like to sneak in the back door that are the ones that end up on the field, and you're like, oh, wait a second.
Who let her out there?
And that's why it's so conscious. So we will be talking about, so that'll be our next episode. We'll talk about high vibe avatars. And as an example, right, it's like, oftentimes what happens is there's a lot of fear of these dream team killers, which Comfy Slob is totally on the dream team killers, the dream killers. So you've got 4 that are like pretty, if you watch those 4, there are other ones, we talked about it. There's, the love hustler, or, the Miss Insecure, Mr. Insecure. There's a bunch of different ones, the approval whore, that kind of stuff. But just paying attention to the ones that are serving you and the ones that are not, so that you can be conscious of who you put in the field or put in play, and just know that you're going to have to consciously fight against the resistance that'll happen when you start making your team selections. Because what'll happen is again, this goes back to that Marianne Williamson quote that I'm always reminded of, which is like, I don't know what the exact quote is, but the idea behind it is the fact that we're actually really comfortable in darkness as human beings. Again, it's certainty. It's comfort. Yeah. I know what to expect in darkness. I know the pain. It's familiar. The word familiar always happens. It's why we stay in relationships that we don't want to be in. It's why we stay 20 pounds overweight, or 5 pounds overweight, or 100 pounds overweight. It's familiar. It's comfortable. There is fear that is associated, and resistance that is associated with changing patterns and shifting into even something that we know will change our life in a high vibration. Yeah. So that's why for people that, if you're watching and you have an idea of what you want your body to be like, and you have a bazillion strategies, when your mind is still in the vibration or running scripts of low vibration avatars, no matter how many strategies you have, it doesn't matter. And so that's why this is so important. And so the high, like as an example, my crazy, epic, sexy, fun, wild, and free avatar, I talk about some of the avatars in the book, right? That's one I talk about in the book. That avatar is someone who I love being so much, and gets so many things. Like, she's so fun and she's so vivacious. And so it's the more that we create them and experience them and step into them and understand what they're wearing, and this is a piece of how we'll conquer them. So we'll stop here and just know that in the next episode, that's what we're going to talk about. And so the reason I'm telling you that now is know that the next episode is coming, and that you will have another life hack that helps you step into a higher vibration. And this week, just really focus on identifying what, with curiosity and humor, identifying your lower vibration avatars and how they are not serving you. And also know they've served you for so long. I think this is something that's really beautiful, is like, you need to learn to love them. Right? Yeah. Which sometimes we try not to get to know something, and there's shame and fear. And then, when we actually allow ourselves to explore what it's like, or what it is, we can understand its motives, you know, like those are just trying to keep you safe.
Right.
Right. And so to finish the Marion, I know I jump around when I'm channeling, but to finish the quote of the Marianne Williamson is that we're often most afraid of our light, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of how much power we are and how much power we have in terms of just our light. And so that's going to be something that in creating that high vibration is just knowing that these avatars, they're gonna come up every time you go to the next level. And remember, you're always doing this. So you're always going to be going to the next level, you know, like up level, next level. So for me, the amount, I feel like the amount of resistance, well, actually, this is a quote in a Stephen Pressfield book, and I totally agree with this. Like the amount of resistance you face is basically showing you that you're on your path to your soul's fulfillment. Right. And I love that because how much resistance did you have around stepping into this light that was calling you to really help inspire people to transform their mind and their body and create
the most uncomfortable thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Like it causes me still like, you know, discomfort and a bit of anxiety and whatever. But then when you say that, I'm like, wow, okay, fine.
Right. It's a reframe.
No, because it's so worth it. Because like, you know, I found out one of my clients is down 14 pounds.
In
a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, and that makes it so worth it. Cause like she's feeling better and she's feeling more comfortable in her skin, and, you know, it's a work in progress. So it's funny how like you can like, once you're more compassionate with yourself, you can be more compassionate with others or help show them how to be compassionate with themselves. And still like push them with some tough love. So it's fun. I know for me, like we were just talking about like how you recognize how your avatars show up, and it's like Perfectionista. I know like now I'm pretty good about when she comes out, and there is a time and a place for Perfectionista, at least in my life. You know, like when I'm at work in the critical care unit, like you want Perfectionista doing your drug calculations. You know, you want Perfectionista putting in your IV and your PICC line. And those are the things I used to do. So like she served me very well with taking care of other people's children, and you know, and adults. So Saboteur, still trying to work on recognizing her. I know I'm in Victima when I'm taking things, or Victima is trying to get out when I'm taking things very personally.
Yeah, totally.
If I'm taking everyone else's shit personally, and I only realized it in like today, is that I'm like, oh, okay, that's my Victima, because she's like, what the fuck, everybody in world? Like, why do you hate me?
My Victima is a blamer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like, why did you do that to me? And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Oh, right.
Participant.
That's so funny.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, that was like it, really. It was just, I figured out like it was like, once I learned how to not take other people's shit personally and realized, you know, like wrap my head around, it's a reflection of their relationship with themselves. I was like, oh, okay. And then Victima was kind of like, wow. And I was like, no, we're good. Get over there, you know, yes. Yeah, totally. It's so funny. Like that was really for her, like for the most part, that was really what it took the most. Like once I figured that out, I really had Victima way more in check.
Yeah.
The other ones, you know, take a little bit more wrangling. That's like wrangling cats.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Victima, that's a really great point. Victima, for me, I can always tell when she's there because it's like everything is happening to her.
Oh, right.
And so how I actually am able to have a pretty conscious conversation with Victima and say,
yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, that happened to you. Yeah. You want to hand all your power away. And she's like, you know, and then it's like, well, okay, how might you have been an active participant in the creation of that?
Right.
The common denominator is you, my friend, you know, and that's me talking to me.
Or one of my favorites was actually a scene I saw long ago in The Simpsons where like they're talking about like Ned Flanders' parents are beatniks and like he's a terrible kid and they like bring him, I forgot where, but they're like, we don't know what to do, man. Like we've done nothing and we're all out of ideas.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh my God. Like, so for me, like that actually has stayed with me forever. And I like have said that to people and been like, you've done nothing and you're all out of ideas. Like, so for me too, yeah, Victima wants to do nothing and is like, well, that's it.
She also is like, yeah, it's the quote where it's like, don't be mad, don't be mad about the results you didn't get from the work that you didn't do.
Right.
You know, right. And Victima's really upset that her body looks the way that it does.
Dude, that's another great point because my Victima was like super pissed about my legs. I wanted to wear jeans and pants and all the time. She was sitting and scrolling on Instagram. God damn it. Her and Comfy Slob. Comfy Slob was like, come on over, Victima. I got room for you on this couch. Yeah, come on over. We're going to scroll on Instagram. We're going to look at all these beautiful legs on these fitness account Erin follows and wish she had legs like that, but do nothing to get legs like that.
It's going to be great. She won't even know what's happening.
And I did it until right now.
And then she'll spend even more time on the couch with us. It's going to be awesome. And they're like, party. Okay, here's what's also. So comparison.
Yeah.
Victima is like, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you find yourself comparing yourself to other people a lot, you're also focused on problems and not solutions.
Yeah.
So a reframe for
me. Ooh, Victima is committed to the problem.
Oh, so committed. And she.
Oh, there's gonna be a cat butt coming by soon.
Oh yeah, Tron. Yeah. That's about right. That's Clark. That's also Clark.
Yes.
Honoring. He's like, yes, I get to be famous. Oh my God, that's so funny. So good timing. Victima is not only Tron. Hey buddy. Victima is also very committed to there being a problem and that she has zero ability to address the problem. And then Perfectionista is, so here's a life hack to help you with Perfectionista, because we talked a little bit about how to life hack Victima, which is like some reality check. And the Saboteur, you just have to realize like.
She's a ninja bitch.
She is, and the thing is, what's happening with the Saboteur is she's just trying to create some certainty for you. Yeah. So just ask yourself, like, well, what's the certainty you want to create? Because you have to create certainty with intention. It's a need we need met, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's how might you be able to create some certainty for yourself in a way that serves you? Yeah. Tron knows what I'm talking about.
That's why he just showed up. This is my Saboteur.
Yeah,
right here.
Yeah,
knocking over cans of LaCroix and like knocking shit off counters all the time.
I dig it.
Yeah.
So, and then with the Perfectionista, one of the things I've learned with Perfectionista that really helps me, because my Perfectionista was so strong.
Oh yeah.
Was the Serenity Prayer.
Totally. It's taken a lot of work for me to get out of wanting to control everything. Well, and once I got pregnant with my boy, I was like, a lot of it's out of my control.
Well, that was so with me, I had 6 sales reps and I was like, well, I will die if I keep doing this. So I had to learn how to let things go. Even something as simple as like an email inbox that had, 400 emails in 2 hours. And I was just like, nope, I just can't. So like, email me again and then I'll, you know what I mean? And even the amount of Perfectionista hates not responding to everyone.
Because she wants to please everybody.
Yes. And if I responded to everyone who reaches out to me now, like that's what I would do all day, So it's not that I don't, you know what I mean? It's just, it's not that it's like my do-it-all girl wants to do it. And, and it's just like, you have to be conscious. So with Perfectionista, it's about going back to intention. It's like, it's having a conversation with her too, because she wants to serve you.
Right.
And I love what you said is we can be more conscious about when we use them. We talked about this with Comfy Slob. Cool. Give Comfy Slob the couch every once in a while and be like, yeah, rah, we're going to have a great time on this couch.
Dude, when Comfy Slob comes in for me to take a nap, I'll take a 3-hour nap.
Yes.
It happens every 5 months, but I actually will take a nap.
Yes. And with the Perfectionista, it's like, okay, well, what might you want her to enjoy playing with you on?
Right.
I love designing, decorating right now.
Yeah.
The retreat house, there's still some finishing touches we're working on. And so for me, I can pull my Perfectionista onto that team and go, okay, girl, tell me what's the perfect thing to go right there.
Right.
So it's like these avatars can still, and Victima, I think that she can serve you because she helps you realize when she's actually really beautiful. He or she, your Victima or Victimo, helps you realize when you're handing your power away.
Oh, yeah.
And so when you realize you're experiencing that, you get to go, this is an opportunity to take my power back.
Yeah, totally. And I think, I don't know if you ever want to do an episode on this, but I think what's so interesting too is as control or as you, so as in control as you become of who you're putting in the game, I think it's important to recognize and figure out how to navigate when society is throwing their Perfectionista at you or their Victima or their Saboteur, and you're getting those external messages because that's for sure. When I started being a good enoughist, when you start being a good enoughist at work, when you're surrounded by perfectionists and or you're the people pleaser and you used to pull overtime all the time, everyone's like, oh, look at you. Guess, you're just too good now, huh? And they kind of build off that. So it's funny, but maybe it'd be a good idea we talk about that, do an episode.
So the next episode we'll do high vibes, and then the one after we'll talk about society. And when I say society, I mean also familial, so let's just call it the outwardly otherness. Combat, because there's another thing too around I'm just writing this down is
or misperceptions and self-care, because I feel like society's take care of yourself, go get a manicure, but then they're you dick, you're not spending time with your kids, or there's some other way that it's making you feel, I don't know, and how you figure out through your own filters what's right for you.
Yeah Okay. I love that. Okay, so one of the things I'm hearing to share, just because I even if it's one person listening, I keep hearing to share what the Serenity Prayer is. So the Serenity Prayer is, God grant me the patience to have the courage to, what is it? So God grant me the patience to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Yeah. So that's Perfectionista. It's what with my Perfectionista, I always ask her well, what can we control? And then I put all of my energy on that. The last thing I'm hearing before we wrap up is Erin. So anyone who's is Facebook. So how to connect with you. So with me, I'm a lot of people who are watching are probably already following either Epic Sexy You. So that's EPICSEXYYOU, which you can find as an @Epic Sexy You on Instagram. You can find Epic Sexy You in 3 separate words on Facebook, or all one word on YouTube, Epic Sexy You. So it's 2 I's, EPICSEXYYOU. Or what I love is I love connecting with people on my on Facebook, and I have a personal page that's not maxed yet. So if you want to connect with me on there, it's Morgan Field, MORGANFIELD. So Erin, what about you? How can people connect with you and start following your journey?
You can find me on Facebook. I am under, you can search Erin, ERIN, Hederman, HED, ERMAN, that's my maiden name, McCabe, MCCAB as in boy E. Or you can find me on Instagram at Erin E. McCabe. So just ERINEMCCABE.
Awesome. All right, cool. Anything else before we, I didn't think so either. That felt
No.
balls. Welcome to Conversations with the Bestie team over here that are committed to helping you expand period.
Yeah.
Right?
Come with us. Come join the rebellion.
Yes. Which I'm excited because I know that when we talk about like the societal paradigms and all that outwardly otherness crap that's getting in our
Dude, you know how much I love Star Wars, and like I spent all last weekend watching Star Wars, but like legit, it's like if you were to look at the like two sides, or like the Force, the light side of the Force, and like the Jedi versus the Sith, and like their like everything they stand for and their ideals, like it's out of control. Like, you know, so the Rebel Alliance is the real deal. Like, come join the rebellion with us.
I think what you're saying for those of us that don't really understand exactly what you're saying, but I'm pretty sure this is also the beauty of friendships, that it's like you nerd out on some things together because you're both brainiacs, and then other things I'm like, I don't get that, but it's cool. But I fucking love it also. Like last week, like, I like wind patterns. I'm like, of course you do. Which is amazing. And one of the many reasons I love you is Erin saying, come join us on the light side. We are light workers. Yeah. When I first told Erin that, I think she pooped is what I think happened. I think she got a little nervous and a little, I
think I pooped, and then I texted you and I was like, you really think so? And you're like, yeah, dick.
Yeah, so come join the army of light workers that we are helping build, to help you create a life you love living, a you love being, and a body you love being in. So that's it for this episode. We will catch you on the next episode, and high vibe avatars. Until then, have fun calling yourself out on your own BS and stop getting in your own way. Okay, bye. Yes.